Welcome back to Invictus Forum. I wish to give you a tip or tips on how to handle the different essay type questions in paper 2 depending on their different features. Students think that you could just answer questions generally. No, there are specific things that are needed in the different question types. Let's begin with comment. What do we mean to comment? Comment means to express an opinion on something or an idea. It involves a critical view about something, someone, or an idea so that it can be understood by someone else. When commenting, your point of view may agree or disagree with the notion that has been raised in the question. For example, a matter is 9 women in one. Comment. You are expected to give a critical view of what makes a matter 9 women in one. For example, she raises her daughter all alone. She lives in her husband's house alone at the entrance of the village. She challenges the men and they capitulate, etc., etc. That is what makes her 9 women in one, which is an explanation of saying that she is not just an ordinary woman. She does things that go above womanhood. You can also say she is not, because she is emotional like every woman else. When her daughter abandons her on the way back to Kenzo, she goes back to Moabit and breaks down in tears at night. She also has her own personal fears, especially when it comes to the security of Ntube. Now let's take to what extent. Do you agree? This is a double-sided question with equal weight for both arguments. But you must begin with the premise on the question. Argue the premise first before you go to the other side. The premise is the part which has been listed in the question. For example, to what extent do you consider And Palm Wine Will Flow a pessimistic a pessimistic play? The play is pessimistic because the founder of a Wawa has no future with a leader like the faun, who is corrupt, abuses his power, and is full of greed, leaving his subjects to feel very uncomfortable. But on the other hand, there is a note of hope when the faun is confronted by the women, and it leads to its demise, thereby freeing the land from greed and gluttony. The people also decide to embrace a new form of government based on democratic principle, based on the general participation of the people, where everyone's voice will be heard and their opinions taken into consideration. Whatever decision that's going to be taken is going to be a communal one, not that taken by an individual to suit their personal purpose. What is the meaning of discourse? They ask a question, they say discourse. Discourse demands that the learner explains a phenomenon, an idea, a concept. The reason is for the learner to provide information that will support or explain the idea for purpose of clarity. You are providing supportive material or information when you are discussing to make that notion clear. For example, discuss using any 3 poems from Poems of Black Africa. The view that modern women are morally bankrupt. The notion is on moral bankruptcy concerning modern women. And then you can say, in Flora spends most of her time in the nightclubs, where she falls in love with different men for different reasons. She falls in love with the speaker because of his tight-fitting dress. She falls in love with the guitarist because of his dexterity in playing the guitar the schoolboy, the athlete, the politicians, all of this to highlight her infidelity and promiscuity. Moral bankruptcy. What makes her morally bankrupt? Because she is unfaithful to the men and she's promiscuous. You are bringing out all this information to clarify why modern women can be considered as being morally bankrupt. They are promiscuous and they are unfaithful. Assess. Calls for judgment to bring out the relevance of the literary statement in the light of the literary context in which it has been used. For example, assess Keats' genius as a romantic poet. The context is within the context of romanticism. How do you judge Keats to be a genius in the context of being a romantic poet? Keats is a genius because he transforms simple things to assume poetic importance and beauty. Although autumn is considered a season of death and decay, he transforms it to one of splendor through its fruitfulness and abundance into autumn. Through the season of autumn, he showcases the beauty of every season in nature. Justify requires the learner to take a stand by giving reasons for the position taken for an argument that has been raised. You are justifying why you say this person is bad. The answer is philosophical with arguments. For example, justify the title Anthills of the Savannah. The interpretation of anthills and savannah are purely philosophical and in context. The anthill is this habitat for ants. Savannah is a vast area of land. Anthills is a place where ants organize their lives. They work in synergy to build their home, highlighting hard work and unity. While the savannah is very vast, which means that there is ample space for everyone. What is the significance? This clearly indicates that if Kangan or the new African countries which have just gained independence want to develop, the citizens must dedicate themselves to hard work and cultivate the spirit of unity. In addition, the state should be an area that accommodates everyone's idea, whether they conflict or not. Everyone should be accommodated. The state is a vast land, like the savannah, where its citizens should work in synergy through hard work, unity, but there should also be tolerance because there is a place for everyone. Examine needs that the learner examines a situation carefully in order to make a valid statement about a situation or a thing. At the end, the learner has a strong statement to make. For example, covert racism is more dangerous than overt racism. Examine this view with reference to erasing in the sun. The candidate has to critically examine what makes covert racism to be dangerous. Covert racism is subtle but frustrating because blacks are confined to live in the ghettos in Chicago South Side. They do not have access to good jobs or investment ventures. They are subjected to assimilation like George Murchison and they are refused the opportunity to live in the neighborhoods of their choice like Clybourne Park. Why illustrate simply demands memory, recall, and explains to support the view of a position. For example, illustrate with concrete examples that the merchant's tale is about hypocrisy. You can now go to illustrate by giving May pretends to love her husband, whereas she also falls in love with Damian. Damian pretends to be a very faithful servant, yet he lusts after his master's wife. I hope this has helped to give you some clarification so that you can be able to handle paper 2 technically by analyzing. Avoid narration. Telling the story will earn you no mark. It is how well you use parts of the story or the informations in the text for analysis that will give you the mark that you deserve. I wish you good luck. God bless you.